so does anyone know what that sound means to a racehorse? Well, they say a picture's worth 1,000 words, and that one pretty much sums it up. But what happens when a racehorse has heard its final call to the post? Well, most racehorses with the proper time and training can have wonderful second careers, but many of them never have the chance. Today, I'll be talking about the retraining process of racehorses, from their roots on the track to the process itself and why it's important for you to know. Now, I'm very familiar with this process as I have been through it myself, trained beneath my grandpa, who is a racehorse trainer in Arizona, Holly Robinson, who is a jumping instructor in the area, and I've also done extensive research on my own. Now, most problems we face in the retraining process begin with the roots on the track, and there are 4 main contributors. The first is age. Most horses start training at the age of 3 or 4 and don't begin heavy training until about 5. But racehorses begin at the age of 1 and are racing by the age of 2. The second main problem is the handling they receive at the racetrack. Now, handlers of racehorses, rather than correcting their bad habits, they work around them. So when we inherit these racehorses off the track when they're about 7 years old and their shoulders are up to here, they still have their 1-year-old bad habits, like pulling, tugging, biting, and trampling you while they're on the line. The third problem is that to a racehorse, a saddle means a ride, and a ride means they're going to go out and run. Now you can see where that might be a problem for us when we put a saddle on in the retraining process. The final problem is contact. Now, as you can see here, with a regular horse, contact is a loose line of tension from the rider's elbow down the rein to the horse's mouth. This allows the horse and rider to communicate to each other. But with a racehorse, they're taught that the looser the reins are, the slower they go, and the tighter the reins are, the faster they go. This means that when we get up and we try to put just a steady contact on them, all they're thinking is, I need to go faster. Now, you have all met my dancing horse, Moose. I introduced him in my last speech. But what you might not know is that 2 years ago, he was a racehorse. When I first got him, it took 2 people just to lead him without him trampling someone. And in the first week I had him, I probably walked 15 miles beside him, just working on his ground manners. But as soon as he figured out what it was that I wanted from him when he was on the line, I didn't even need the line. At that point, we were able to move on to lunging. Now, lunging is when you put a horse on a 25-foot-long line and work them in circles around you. With my horse, there were plenty of fireworks the first couple times. But as soon as he figured out what I wanted from him, we didn't need the line for that either, which is very advanced, even for a lesson horse. Finally, after we had completed all of this training, I was finally able to ride my horse. Originally, my instructor had to keep him on the lunge line while I was on top of him, just in case we had a misunderstanding. But, once again, fairly quickly, it ended up being him that was taking care of me. Now, this is a little bit of racehorse trainer humor for you, because clearly, he's a little bit lazy now. And these days, he's the one taking better care of me than I usually am on him. For example, last night, my brother took this picture of me, and last night I was so tired I wouldn't have dared to climb up on another horse, but I was riding him bareback and bridleless, because I know he won't take advantage of me like most horses will. What's on his face right now is just 2 lead lines and his halter. Now, this sounds like a happy ending, but most racehorses are in trouble right now. Now, why would this matter to you? Well, if you've ever watched a racehorse live, you're morally obligated to understand the consequences. It's not like it's the Hunger Games, but there are some pretty hefty consequences to this game, such as every year, over 36,000 racehorses are born. These horses' careers generally last 3 to 5 years. Sometime during those 3 to 5 years, they're retired, and about 3,000 of them retire every single year. That's not including those with injuries. Approximately 2/3 of those that retire every year are sent offshore to slaughterhouses, like Ferdinand. Now, Ferdinand was a Kentucky Derby winner back probably 25 years ago. He was the best of the best, a celebrity. But when he retired and didn't do very well in a breeding program, he was sent from breeding program to breeding program to breeding program until he eventually wound up in Japan, where he was slaughtered for human consumption. But there are ways that you can help. Many racehorse retraining programs are in need of volunteers. in many of these volunteer programs, you don't even need to have experience with horses. For example, canter can always use backside photographers. To be a canter photographer, all you need to do is go backside on the track for a couple hours every weekend and just take pictures of the horses being donated. Now, the ways to help are donations. Most of the racehorse retraining programs are nonprofit, which means they can only take care of as many horses as donations will cover. And finally, spread the word. You never know who can help. In closing, I'd like to share a quote from Olympic rider Stuart Pittman, who is the head of the racehorse retraining project right now. He once said, "Thoroughbreds seem to want to do things well and respond to balance and tact. They're bred to be brave, to thrive on their work, and to move away from pressure. Add this to the fact that they are Earth's most graceful domesticated creature, and it's no wonder that so many of us call ourselves thoroughbred lovers."